Before recording this, TJ and I were talking about where you could find Pulseman, which was an import Genesis game back in the day, and you mentioned the Sega Channel.
The Sega Channel.
The Sega Channel. That doesn't still exist, does it?
It does not exist, which is unfortunate because I've always wanted to play Mega Man: The Wily Wars.
Sega Channel. But you can get Pulseman on the Nintendo Wii's Virtual Console, right?
Yes, you can. It's in the import section, and it's kind of a strange bird in the history of video games because this game was actually developed by Game Freak. Now, you probably know Game Freak. They're responsible for a little multinational craze called Pokemon.
What? Pokemon? I swear I've heard of that, but I just can't place it.
Yeah, approximately 20 video games, 13 movies, anime series that's been running for 500 or so episodes. It's been out there a while.
Okay, well, will Pulseman appeal to the Pokemon crowd, or is it a completely different game?
It's a completely different experience. It's a very stylized Genesis platformer, though some of the elements, some of the mechanics would eventually show up in the Pokemon series again, whether it's Pikachu's Volt Tackle attack, which you might also recognize from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, or the general design of Pulseman, which was later the basis for the Pokemon Rotom, the electric ghost type that made its debut in the 4th generation. But this game has nothing to do with collecting small monsters. It's instead just a hardcore platformer with unmistakably Genesis-esque qualities. Just the color selection, the sound. You can't get that Genesis sound anywhere else.
Right?
It's a little bit better than that.
That's what I equate with the Genesis sound. Now, some developers obviously used it better than others.
That really twangy bass, love it.
The Genesis put out some great bass.
It did.
When used properly. So Pulseman is available, the Wii Virtual Console, presumably doesn't cost all that much, but how about the original Genesis game cartridge?
The original Genesis game cartridge would be about $90 these days, which is 10 times what it goes for on the Wii Virtual Console. And then you have to go through the rather arduous process of import modding your Genesis. Not an easy thing to do.
So then, you would probably recommend the Wii Virtual Console version of Pulseman.
I certainly would. And the instructions are in English, even if the game text isn't.
So who's the game for? Who would enjoy this one?
Well, folks who really enjoyed classic Genesis gameplay, or video game historians who just want the rather novel idea of it's a game from the Pokemon guys before Pokemon happened. What are the odds?
Pulseman. Is it better than Vector Man on the Genesis?
Well, Vector Man does have one more letter in its name, but Pulseman let you enter the interwebs to fight crime long before Mega Man Battle Network was even a thing.
And it was on the Sega Channel.
The Sega Channel.
The Sega Channel. I gotta find a way to get the Sega Channel up and running again.
I think that service has been discontinued.
No, I refuse to believe that. If there's a Sega Channel, if there was once a Sega Channel, there is always a Sega Channel somewhere. A quick question, was there ever a Pokemon game on a Sega console?
Actually, yes. There was a Pokemon handwriting tutor in Japan released for the Sega Pico.
Why do you know this? Why do you know this?
Because I know things.
Then know somebody at Sega to bring back the Sega Channel. Bring it back!